Imagine standing in the heart of the 1860s, a world divided, a nation at war with itself. The air is heavy with smoke and uncertainty. In the fields of the American South, young men, farmers, tradesmen, brothers and sons, take up arms, believing they're defending home and honor. For over a century and a half, their faces have been frozen in faded photographs, silent, distant, black and white. But now, through the lens of technology and the art of digital restoration, those forgotten soldiers return to life in vivid color. Every hue, every line, every shadow tells a story long buried by time. These are not just relics of history. They're people, real men who lived, fought, and endured through one of the darkest chapters of the American story. This is not a reenactment. It's not fiction. This is time travel through color, memory, and history.
Private Richard Levi Ethridge, Company B, 46th Georgia Infantry. Ethridge enlisted on 4 March 1862 in Schley County, Georgia. He was wounded on 22 July 1864 during the Battle of Atlanta. He was given a 60-day medical furlough in March 1865 in order to recover from his wounds, but the war ended before he could rejoin his command. Defending the Heritage. A Titan War God. Lieutenant Colonel Will Deloney of Cobb's Legion Cavalry was a true cavalier of the South. One of his fellow cavalrymen stated that at Brandy Station, "I saw Deloney, my former captain, smiting Yankees right and left as he charged along the advance. He sat upon his steed grandly, his fine physique and full mahogany beard flowing. He looked a very Titan war god, flushed with the exuberance and exhilaration of victory. He was loved by his men." Another soldier of his stated, "He cared for his command. Oh, how his men loved him, and how he stood by them, contending always for their rights and looking after their comforts." Deloney was always in the thick of the fight. He never missed a good fight. He saw combat at many of the A&V battles. During Gaines' Crossroads, it was said of him, he was fighting like a mad boar with a whole pack of curs about him, having his bridle hand dreadfully hacked. At Gettysburg, a bullet felled his horse. The horse landed on him. Being trapped under his horse, he was attacked by 3 Yankees. He viciously fought all 3 of them off. Finally, with the help of a comrade, was able to escape. In this episode, he had suffered a severe wound to the top of his head on his right side, just above the eye. A few months later at the Battle of Jack's Shop, on September 22, 1863, a Yankee mini bullet ripped into the Deloney's left thigh. His mount was hit once again. It was the second time this happened in combat, and this time he wasn't as fortunate and couldn't escape. He had incurred a mortal wound and was soon captured by Yankees. He was taken to a Yankee hospital in Washington, D.C. There he lay dying, and next to him was a young Yankee. He asked this 18-year-old Union private, John Wright, who had been hospitalized months earlier after his wounding at Chancellorsville, to read him from the Bible. The 14th chapter of John was selected, and the reader began, "Let not your heart be troubled." Wright looked up, and Deloney, who had broken down into tears, said, "Oh, I could die in peace, I could die in peace," he sobbed. "If only I were home with my wife and children, but it is so hard to die far from home and among strangers." He died on October 2, 1863, at the age of 38. Testaments to his character appeared after his death, and veterans praised his knightly deeds long after the war. An unknown author wrote a heartfelt eulogy. "A true and devoted friend, a pure patriot and a Christian, lamented by all." Private Sebron B. Fuller, Mountain Rangers, Company F, 55th Georgia Infantry. Sebron was born on 4 December 1837 in Meriwether County, Georgia, where he spent his entire life. A farmer and mechanic/blacksmith before the war started, he had married Sarah Ashley Nichols on September 7, 1855. He enlisted on 8 May 1862 at Jones Mill, Meriwether County, Georgia, and was present until May-June 1863, when he was detailed to work as a blacksmith in Knoxville, Tennessee. He served as a blacksmith and a teamster at various times during his service and received extra pay while working as a blacksmith. On 1 March 1864, he was transferred to Company B. The 55th Georgia Infantry was assigned to guard duty at Andersonville Prison in Georgia during this time. For his military records dated 30th June 1863 to 30th April 1864, it is noted that Fuller was detailed to burying federal prisoners, that is to say, he was detailed to burying the federal prisoners who died while being held as a POW at Andersonville. Fuller survived the war, but not by very long. On 4th July 1873, Fuller and others were swimming at Owens Shoals on the Flint River. He had just assisted in rescuing a son of Mr. Bridges from drowning when Fuller himself drowned. It was noted that he was seized with cramps, went underwater, and drowned. Sarah outlived her husband by 48 years, but never remarried. Private John Newton Roberson, Company C, 56th Georgia Infantry. Roberson enlisted on 10 May 1862 in Bowdoin, Georgia. He became a POW when Vicksburg, Mississippi capitulated to federal forces in July 1863, but was soon exchanged. According to his Find a Grave page, after the war he joined the Mormon Church, moved to Colorado, where he worked for the railroad in Durango, before moving yet again to Utah. In July 1915, he was visiting relatives in Cullum County, Alabama, when he died. Instead of his body being transported for burial, he was simply buried there in Brushy Pond, Cullum County, Alabama.
Cody 1st Georgia Cavalry, William Exels Wigley. Co-E 63rd Georgia Infantry, Stephen Hare, 1835 to 1914, D. Dublin Erith County, Texas. Private Andrew Jackson Lambert, Company K, 30th Georgia Infantry. Lambert was wounded in the left leg, resulting in partial paralysis, at the Battle of Jonesboro, Georgia on 31 August 1864. He survived the war, died in 1904, and is buried Carroll County, Georgia. Brigadier General George P. Doles, earlier Colonel, 4th Georgia Infantry. 27th Georgia Infantry, Major Henry Burroughs Holliday, AQM, father of Doc Holliday. Co. B, Griffin Light Guards, 5th Georgia Infantry, unidentified. The unit saw heavy action throughout the war. Al Luckenbach. Co. D, then B, 2nd Battalion Georgia Infantry, Private Sidney Clopton Lanier, later Confederate Signal Corps. 1st Lieutenant William Thomas Whiteford, Company B, 50th Georgia Infantry. Enlisting on 4th March 1862 in Waresboro, Ware County, Georgia, he died on 8 May 1863 and is buried in Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. 50th Georgia Infantry, Cole Peter McGlation. On this day, 161 years ago, the Battle of Cedar Creek. Colonel Peter McGlation, commanding the 50th Georgia Infantry, part of Joseph Kershaw's division, left vivid descriptions of the early morning of October 19, 1864. Commenting on the fog and its impact on the Battle of Cedar Creek, he wrote, "The faded gray uniforms of our men were so nearly the color of the October grass they could not distinguish us, but we could see their dark blue uniforms readily." McGlashan's Georgians, along with the rest of James Sims' brigade, led the attack against Joseph Thoburn division. Standing in McGlashan's way were some 350 members of the 5th New York Heavy Artillery, serving as pickets along Cedar Creek. Some shots were fired by the New Yorkers, felling several Georgians, but as McGlashan later wrote, "This terrible approach of a silent line of battle they could not see appalled them, and they fled in terror without firing another shot." Nearly 310 of those New Yorkers were captured,
most being eventually confined in the Confederate prison in Salisbury, North Carolina. From Wiregrass to Appomattox, the untold story of the 50th Georgia Infantry. Major General Joseph Wheeler, USMA 1859. Joseph Fighting Joe Wheeler, September 10, 1836 to January 25, 1906. Also known as Little Joe and the War Child. Joseph Wheeler was born near Augusta, Georgia, but was raised by relatives and spent most of his life growing up in Connecticut. Despite his northern upbringing, he was appointed to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point from the state of Georgia and always considered himself a Georgian and Southerner. He graduated from the academy in 1859, 19th out of 22 cadets. He became a noted CSA cavalry general, fighting battles in the Western Theater. Passing away in 1906, he was one of the few former CSA officers to be buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Co-C, 12th Georgia Infantry, Sergeant George C. Smith. Sergeant George C. Smith, Faces of the Civil War at Gettysburg, Company C, Davis Rifles, 12th Georgia Infantry, Dole's Brigade. Wounded slightly at Gettysburg and 2 more times during the war. His left big toe was shot off at 3rd Winchester in September 1864. Surrendered at Appomattox, Virginia on April 12, 1865. Was a farmer in South Georgia after the war. He died in Mitchell County, Camilla, Georgia in 1912.
Thank you for journeying through time with us. If you value keeping history alive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with others who cherish the past.